Now, guys, my name is Tim Roswick, and today we're talking about setting expectations. Why is this important? Well, I think it applies to a lot of different facets of life. I think a lot of people's problems in life, a lot of interactions that they do wrong, a lot of maybe failed business relationships or friendships are not the result of actual failure. They're the result of a mismatch between expectations and outcome. And this especially has affected me, like in a lot of different ways. But if you've ever worked with a team, for example, and you just had a person that just, would get so frustrated at every little thing, or you had people that never do work, or you've joined a team and like people just expected too much of you, or anything like that. You ever joined a job where you felt like people were just adding a bunch of work that was unnecessary, or your boss kept giving you other people's work to do because other people didn't do it and they just gave it to you. Whatever it is, I think all of this has one thing in common. It has to do with setting expectations. Now, for me, setting expectations is something that I've had to learn to do from an employer standpoint. When I started my marketing company, I would work with clients, and some of the clients would be overbearing. So like back before I kind of developed the social skills that I have now, I was very socially vulnerable, if that makes sense. People with an elevated ability socially could get me to do things that I didn't want to do or feel comfortable doing, just by the fact that they would like either pat me on the back or like convince me to do stuff or whatever. And the fact that I was like a super little introvert kind of like person that didn't really have effective communication skills or boundaries, I would kind of end up doing whatever they wanted me to do and kind of walk all over me, basically. Just take advantage of me and just get me to do a bunch of different work for very little or no money. There are plenty of people that got me to do a ton of different work for free just because I didn't know how to say no. But I think a lot of this was the result of me not knowing how to set expectations both ways. When I started learning, like for example, there was this guy when we did a little bit of web design, and he had hired me to do a website. And I said, "Yeah, I'll design the website. We'll agree on a design, and then I'll code it, and then we'll put it online and all that." So I designed a website for him. He said it was great, cool. I went home, started coding it, and then he texted me. He's like, "No, that's not gonna work. We need a new design." And I was like, "All right, fine, whatever. I'll make a new design." I made a new design. Met with him again the next week. He said it was good. He said he was going to talk to his partner about it, and then he texted me again later that night. It's not going to work. So I made him 3 different designs, and I was like, "Dude, which one of these would work?" And we went there, and he picked one. And we made a couple tweaks to it, and then I went home, and again he said it was not acceptable. And I was just like, "Dude, okay, I can't." Like, and that, back then too, like this was before I knew how to charge anything, before I even had officially had a company. I was just kind of learning web design and kind of doing web design on the side. I was charging him $500, and I was just like, the amount of time I'm spending on design now. I now designed 5 different websites. I've made 5 different designs. This is not going to work. Like, it doesn't. This, what the fuck am I doing? And he was a problem client that actually. I had to end up dropping. I had to just end up refunding because it was just, it didn't work out. And part of me thought that something was wrong with me. I was just like, oh, fuck, like, I can't, why can't I make designs that please these people? But then the other party was like, no, dude's just a dick that doesn't know what the fuck he wants. And he was being an asshole about it. So it wasn't just me not wanting to do the work. But I realized that, like, I had set that expectation because in my ad, I had said, satisfaction guaranteed and all this different stuff. And I had said, unlimited designs, we'll find a design that you like, and then blah, blah, blah. And I had said all this stuff, not really thinking that someone would like literally go through 5 or 6 designs of each time, because most of the time, clients trusted me to design. Like, I would ask them a bunch of questions. I'd look at all their branding. I'd match their logo. I'd do, go out of my way to do something. So usually the first, second, or third one, rarely the third one, was good for them. And what I ended up doing later on was just presenting like 2 or 3 designs at the beginning and having them pick one. But after that day, I actually decided to change all of my marketing, all of my advertising material, all of my proposal and everything. And I would actually include, you can choose up to 3 designs. If not, we'll agree on some kind of template or something like that, and there'll be some kind of choice, or you can get a refund. And once I added in those kind of expectations, and I explained them to my clients, so here's the deal: I'll design one. If you don't like it, I'll design another. If you don't like it, I'll design another. But we can't go more than 3, otherwise it's going to be, additional design charge. Once I set that up, I never had that problem again. Whereas I had issues like that a couple times before, because of me setting the expectation of unlimited designs. And I feel like there's so many instances where this applies in life. And I know for teams are a huge one for me. Like, especially because I've hired employees, I work with teammates, I work with business partners. And if you don't communicate your expectations to the other person, and they communicate their expectations to you, you can end up in some gray waters, man. You can end up in some really weird places. So, for example, if you're working with a team, you say, hey, teammate, I'm going to be working on this 5 days a week for the next 6 months. I need you to at least commit 3 days a week for, 4 hours a day. Can you do that? Is that something you can commit to? Okay, which days do you want to actually do? Versus, hey, do you want to make a game together? And then get frustrated that this guy's not working, right? What he's not doing. I saw him. He posted something about going to the beach on Facebook. Like, what is he doing? Whereas just having actual concrete expectations. Like, these are the expectations. I don't care what happens to this. I don't care where you go on weekends, whatever. But if you work your 3 days a week or whatever, boom, that's the team. Like, having those conversations up front is so ridiculously important. And a lot of teams don't do that. A lot of teams don't sit around and set their expectations for each other and actually communicate. Because what happens a lot in teams is one guy that works really hard will pair with another guy that maybe doesn't work as hard. The guy that works really hard is maybe a little introverted, and he'll expect the other person to work just as hard. But then secretly, when this guy sees the other guy's not working as hard, he gets frustrated. And he just gets more angry. Maybe he'll post on a forum about it. But they never actually communicate. He'll just kind of passively aggressively make statements and shit. I've seen that happen 1,000 times. But if the people would just communicate, like, okay, here's what I expect from you as a teammate. Here's what I expect from you as a teammate. So on and so forth. Properly discussing expectations can solve a lot of problems up front in teams, but especially in employee relationships. If you're going to hire an artist or you're going to hire a musician, just say, hey, here's what I expect. I need 4 tracks. I need them done by next month. And I need, this is my budget. You just be straight up, properly set expectations from the hiring side. But then also, if you're a musician getting hired, properly set the expectations from the client side. Be like, hey, this is how I work. It usually takes me about a week or 2 to make a track. This is what I charge. I work 2 days a week. I'm not available to call at midnight or whatever. I'm available from whatever. You hit me a call. If you don't like it, that's cool. We can go back and we can revise it. You can have up to 3 revisions or whatever it is. As long as you communicate that stuff, working with people is so much easier. It's just the lack of communication that causes all kinds of issues. And properly setting those expectations is so super important, because without them, you end up with, especially if there are maybe some social issues at play there, like introversion or shyness or inability to communicate or lack of barriers, or inability to say no, all that kind of stuff. And if there's stuff like that at play, it can be really hard to have those conversations. I know, as someone that wasn't great at talking to people, especially conflict, having to actually talk to somebody and like confront them, like, hey, I'm paying you to do this work and you're not working, or something like that, was always really hard for me. So I know what that's like, but that awkwardness and that hard conversation can be avoided most of the time by properly setting the expectations, by saying, hey, these aren't done in a month. I'm going to give you like a 1 week suspension or whatever. If they're still not done, I got to find somebody else. Or, deliver 2, then you get the second half of your payment, then you deliver the 2 more or whatever. But having things in place, having expectations in place where if things go down the wrong way, if things happen the wrong way or whatever, things go south, you guys know what to expect. And both parties can work towards it. So I'm not saying it's going to solve all the problems. Obviously, there are thousands of issues with teams. There's thousands of issues with employee-business relationships. Excuse me. There's all kinds of issues, but I feel like communication and properly setting expectations is probably one of the bigger ones. For me, I think the way that I work has just been so much better and smoother and cleaner since I started properly setting expectations for how to work with people, but also how to hire people, and just what people expect from me and what I let them know they can expect from me. So I hope that was helpful to you. I hope it maybe shed some light on maybe some things you're doing wrong in teams and communication. If you got any tips for any kind of like working with teams or just kind of getting past barriers and stuff like that, leave those down in the comments below, because I learned just as much from you guys as you learned from me. But once again, I'm Tim Ruswick, and I will see you again tomorrow.